The Pareto principle, more commonly known as the 80-20 rule, states that around 80% of outcomes come from just 20% of causes. For the last 4 months or so, I've been living it, as these last few little jobs, the last 20% required to get Misty back on the road, seem to be taking 80% of the time and effort. There are 3 main tasks to complete before Misty can move under her own power again: installing the clutch, filling and bleeding the cooling system, and replacing the rear ball joint. These jobs have been ongoing in one form or another since October 2020, and all of them have had setbacks and delays, often requiring additional parts and tools. To be fair, we've also had a lot on our plate lately. We're still trying to buy a house, I've changed jobs, and we're expecting our second child. Although all of these jobs have been happening in parallel, I'm going to make each one the subject of its own video, starting right now with the clutch.
Let's talk about something that's a bit of a tradition around here, and that is fucking up. Because I put the clutch slave in from the top and didn't do up the hose. It turns out you can't do that. The bolt is fixed to the hose, so you can't spin it. Excuse this, I'm having to use my phone camera because I can't fit my full-size camera under here. So what I'm hoping I can do is undo it at this end and then do the hose up and then do this end back up again, because this looks like it will spin independently. So let's give that a go. Well, not a good start. My smallest is a 13 and that appears to be a 12, maybe an 11. So I can try it with just an open spanner, but I don't like my chances. So it's definitely a 12, and that's a pretty snug fit. So I'm going to give it a go, but if I feel like it's not doing it, I'll back off. I've already soaked this in some penetrating oil, so hopefully. No, that is slipping. Fuck.
So while searching on eBay for a 12mm flare spanner, I stumbled upon this, which is a Russian-made locking flare spanner, and I couldn't not buy it, so let's see how this goes.
Well, let's get it in position. I've never needed a spanner for my spanner before. Yeah! So the problem is now I've got to loosen off this lock nut just to move the spanner around to the next position. God, that is stiff. This is a great tool. So there's that free. Now I should be able to liberate this entire hose. Yes! Success.
So since I removed the slave cylinder over a year ago, I've had this clamping on the hose just to try and keep it from leaking, and it's left quite a big dent on both sides, and I feel like it may in fact be weakened. So rather than risk it, I'm going to try and get a replacement one of these. So I've got my new clutch cable here. As you see, it's just a fairly standard aftermarket one. Unfortunately, it doesn't use the same kind of mounting as the original one here, which mounts onto a tab coming out of the firewall. So what I'm going to try and do is put a grommet in that firewall tab and just put a hole in that and just use that to mount this. Unfortunately, the tab has a kind of squarish hole and this is round, so I don't know how well that'll go, but it's worth a try. At least keep this in place.
Bolt that one into there. Doesn't feel like it's biting very well. It's not going straight.
So you may be wondering, why the hell is the clutch slave cylinder back out on the bench? This isn't more time travel. I actually have taken it out again. So I was really struggling to get the new clutch line into the slave cylinder. And I did finally start to get it going. It just felt like it was wrong, like it was cross-threading. So I pulled it out, and yes, it was. I've actually messed up the threads a bit in here. So I decided to whip this out, which actually only took about 20 minutes. I'm clearly getting good at taking Toyotas apart, and see if I can repair it. Now, none of my thread repair kits or taps were the right size. This is an M12 by 1mm, like extra fine thread. So I've had to order some of Sheffield's finest. Got a new bottoming tap there in the right size. So I'm hoping I can make this work. I just need to try and be really careful to get this perfectly like perpendicular into the hole and hope it catches the right threads, and then just take it easy. Okay, that looks like it's going in the right direction. It feels like it's going in somewhere, so let's just keep going and see what happens. So far this actually feels really good. And then what I'm going to do is I will put the hose in here rather than trying to do it with the slave in the car, but that's spinning beautifully now. I'm very happy with that. So I just want to make sure this now screws in okay. And yeah, that feels like it's going in fine. I barely even have to try, and it's going in straight. So the problem is I can't put this in properly yet because the act of recutting those threads has left some kind of metally bits of crap right down in that hole. I don't want them to end up in the cylinder. So what I'm going to try and do is flush that out using some brake fluid. So I actually bought this to do the bleeding, but I think it'll work quite well for this task as well. It's basically the same thing, isn't it? So then I think I'll get that on there. Okay, that's a good start. It's gone straight up there. And there it is. And as you can see, it's pulled out all the scum with it. This has worked better than I could have expected. And then what I will do is probably try and prime this full of fluid before I put it back on the car as well, which is something I should have done last time. So this whole ordeal could be a blessing in disguise. All in all, that was quite the success. I've got that in good and tight. I feel like I've avoided getting any metallic shavingsy crap inside, and now all I need to do is try and sort of prime this with brake fluid and then get it back in the car. So I have been having a horrible time with this goddamn clutch. So you already see me have to rethread the hole on the actual slave cylinder, and then somehow I managed to also mess up the threads on this bit here. And at one point I thought I was going to have to replace this whole hard line which goes right to the front, which would have been a nightmare. And then while I was looking in the front, I noticed a couple of these union joints on both the clutch and the brake lines, and the threads at the top of this were quite ruined, but further down they seemed alright. And I don't know how you can see on this, but this only has, you know, some shallow threads. So I thought that this might have deeper threads and I might be able to use it, and so I ordered one on a whim, found someone happened to have one on eBay, and yeah, managed to get it, and it did manage to go on there. So I may have saved myself some hassle. All I need to do now is order a new clutch line, because now this has got the wrong end on it. I need a male end to go into this, but hopefully that should solve this situation. Luckily, Hell, who made this clutch line, they'd have an online system for ordering custom lines, so I'll do that. And I might finally get something going, but it's been a nightmare, and apologies for not filming any of it, but it's so cramped under here, it's just far too difficult. But yeah, apparently I'm just stripping threads left, right and centre at the moment, so I'm going to go and order my new custom clutch line, and then when that arrives, get it in, bleed the clutch, and hope this is the end of it. So now I need to cut out this old bracket as it no longer works and is just plain in the way. So, well, I've made some pretty good progress. It's getting dangerously close to the brake line. So I'm going to see if I can just kind of bend it and snap it off now. Done. And that's cleared a hole. So I'm just going to sort of tidy that up with a hand file a bit because there's some pretty sharp edges in there. And then try and mount the new clutch line. You're probably wondering why I didn't drill out the spot welds instead to remove this entirely. And the reason is, I think, because I've got this mounting hole on here, I'm going to try and drill and tap this to mount that using some like rubber insulation spacers, kind of like what's already here. And so that just makes it a bit thicker, giving me more meat to tap into, because
I think this is probably quite a thin, not really thin, maybe like 1.5, maybe 2 mil of steel, so very good. So just need to get this back into position because it's out of its clip at the moment, and you can see where that wants to land. And actually, I might not want to. Yeah, I might not actually mount that at all because it doesn't want to go that high. I've had a new idea because this doesn't really. If I pull it on, put a bit too much pressure on there. I don't think it wants to sit quite that high. So back here, you've got these plastic clips that hold the lines in. I'm just going to order another one of them. Clip it on there, and that will just space those two apart so they won't rub on each other, they won't knock about, and everything will be in a much nicer position. So that's something else I need to order and wait for. My clips have arrived. It looks like it might be a little bit small, even though it said that it should fit. So let's see if I can wangle it on there without breaking it. I'm not convinced. Damn it. Bloody lying eBay sellers. So for what I'm pretty sure is the 4th time in my life, I'm turning to plumbing to fix my car. This is a 10mm Talon clip, which will hopefully fit the clutch and brake hoses in. I've measured them at 9mm, so a little bit of slop, but it's not going to be hot dog down a hallway at least. It should at least keep them separate. So let's get under the car and try that. Got that installed, and even though there's a little bit of slop, it's actually perfect. It's, you know, this can move a little bit, but it's not going to hit anything. It's not going to hit the other line, it's not going to hit any of the bulkheads or anything. I might still make a bracket to bolt this into the bulkhead at some point. I think it would be nicer, but at least for now, just especially to get the car up and running, this will do perfectly. The fact these lock into place with those clips means that should be the perfect solution. So next up is to get my new clutch line installed. This is my new clutch line. It's basically the same as the last one, except you see it's got 2 male ends on it. And this is one that I custom ordered using Hell's awesome online tool. Definitely recommend that if you need a custom clutch or brake line. It's really easy to use. They're an English company. I don't know if they ship in America or anywhere else, but worth checking out at least. So let's get the old one out and get this one in. Back in the situation that caused all this mess is that I'm now going to be trying to install the new line while the clutch cylinder is in position. I'm hoping this time I'll have more luck. That's it, there we go. It's just those first few threads are a bit dodgy, but you can feel that's it. So that's going in nice and easily. That is one complete clutch line. Just need to tighten these up a bit and then I can start bleeding. So I've been struggling to bleed this, and I heard that bleeding the clutch in this car is a bit of a nightmare. Previously I was underneath the car, and it occurred to me it's actually easier if you have the bleeding tool above, because then, I'll show you in a minute, but the hose loops up, so it makes it much easier to see if bubbles are coming out. I'll just open up the bleed valve. Whoops, the doodle. Let's try that again. Rinse it up a bit tight. And you can see the bubbles are actually coming out of that hole. And so I know when the big bubbles stop, the air is out. So, I think after multiple attempts and false starts, I finally got all the air out of the clutch. I managed to screw up twice in that once I let the fluid level in the reservoir drop too low and let air in, so I had to bleed the whole thing through again. And then I accidentally plugged in the bleeder tool backwards, so I sucked a bunch of fluid into the piston, had to disassemble that and clean it all out. But it's done. Having sung the praises of the old Russian wrench here, I think I'm a bit premature, because the problem I was finding is the gap here is too small, especially even for hard lines, but especially for those thicker braided cables, and I was constantly having to kind of just prise it open to get it on, and it weakened it there to the point where it eventually snapped. I had to run out and just buy a normal one. So yeah, it's a nice idea. With a wider gap I think it would be perfect, but the normal ones work, so that's good enough. So all that's left to do now is try the clutch and make sure it's all working and not leaking. I've got another camera set up looking at the clutch fork, so I'll be able to see as I push the pedal whether or not it actually works. So I've just been and checked the other camera. I could see the fork was moving, so that's all good. There's no leaks, the pedal feels good. So this is finally done. I can now move on to the cooling system. Thank you for watching and for bearing with us over this really long delay.